It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Arkansas fans? Well, the Ryan Silverfield news is official. I don't know. I've never seen Arkansas fans so outraged, and so much of it seems directed at Hunter Yurachek. I don't think this is a time to bash Ryan Silverfield, who wanted the job, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts on all this. We're going to read your comments. We're going to talk a little bit about Ryan Silverfield, what this hire means. We're going to talk about Hunter Yurachek, fan reaction, all that and more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. I think Arkansas fans wanted a win today. I think they woke up. Not that Alex Golesh is a perfect candidate, because he's not. But I think that there was an idea with Arkansas fans that other teams coveted him. Other teams coveted John Sumrall. And if they could just get a win today. And I think that is where so much of this frustration stems. And the fact that nobody has any confidence in Hunter Yurachek. And I mean, guys, aside from a few people up there, like I think the sports information department, the football group guys do just a fantastic job. But there's so much that happens up there that just leaves you scratching your head. And to be honest with you, there are so many people that are taking jobs right now who are going to end up flopping, and it's impossible to tell. But I think we woke up and feel there's such a lack of confidence in Hunter Yurachek amongst this fan base. I mean, even the smoke thing. And I'd scheduled this. I'd scheduled this at 11:40, and then I was like, well, I guess we'll wait till the official announcement. And then I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything. Look into Ryan Silverfield more, find out more about him, which I've done. And I think there's an idea that why didn't other teams want him? And I think that's part of it, the lack of confidence in Hunter Yurachek. And I've just kind of, to be honest, guys, I've just kind of been in a fog. But I have been looking into Silverfield. And again, this is not a day to bash the guy that wanted the job, because he does want the job. And the contract is signed, obviously, and the deal is done. I have not seen a single positive comment. Not on text, not on message boards, not on X. I've not seen a single, even Hunter Yurachek's. I mean, talk about getting ratioed. Good Lord. I mean, look, I said I was going to read the comments, but there are not any positive comments. And I think that some people thought that at this point, Bobby Petrino, or why not Kane Womack? Those guys wanted the job. Those guys make sense. Jeff calls this the worst decision in program history. Has hit rock bottom. The program already hit rock bottom. I want to talk about a few things with Ryan Silverfield that I've been gathering up, because I didn't want to just go off completely half-cocked. And what is interesting to me about him and the guy that Arkansas thought that they were going to get today, Alex Golesh, which they were in talks with Golesh, obviously. And, from what I have been able to gather a little bit from talking to people behind the scenes, that there were other schools that were after Ryan Silverfield. Oklahoma State, UCLA, are some of the schools that were after him. but I'm told that he feels like he is a really good fit for Arkansas for his connections that he has with Arkansas, with the high school coaches in Arkansas, something that has been missing. The guy's 29-9 over the last 3 years. Again, this is just stuff I put together here lately. He has one of the 10 highest winning percentages in the country over the last 3 seasons, won 4 bowl games. The nation's longest streak of scoring 20 points or more in 51 straight games. They also lost their last 3 games. That is something that jumps out. I mean, why did they go 0-3, 38-32 against Tulane, 31-27 at Cincinnati, 28-17 on Thursday against Navy? They lost 4 of their last 6. They also lost to UAB. That was a stunner. Was supposedly a pretty good roster for a G5 program. He's got a lot of experience in the NFL. 7 years, in fact, in the NFL. For a guy that's only 40-something years old, how old is he? How old is Silverfield? 45 years old. Got quite a bit of coaching experience. (29-9) over the last 3 years. I mean, and that's including losing your last 3 games. Here's some interesting stuff. This was as of 11/17. Ryan Silverfield has 50 wins. Eric Morris has 20 in that time. Summerall has 40. Chesney has 18. Golish has 21. Spencer Danielson has 21. He has 4 wins. This is total bowl wins and total appearance. Okay, so 4 bowl wins and 5 appearances. Eric Morris has 0. Summerall has 1. Chesney has 1. Golish has 2. Total 10-win FBS seasons. 2. The only other guy that has that amongst those guys that we were talking about a lot is Summerall. Wins versus Power 4 opponents. 5. That's including Arkansas. Summerall has 2. Chesney has 1. Golish has 2. Total AP top 25 wins. He has 2. Golish has 2. None of the others have any. I don't think that this is a guy that really puts himself out there a lot. I think it's a guy that really wants this job, and that matters. I don't think that the frustration should be directed at him. I think there are other coaches that drew outrage based on some of the things that I've heard lately. Jed Fish, when he was at Arizona, it was a similar type of reaction amongst their fans. 3 years later, he won 10 games. I've said this before that, you wanted a win today. You wanted to feel like, Arkansas did something that's going to swell support around the coaching hire, that make people go, hell yeah, and just, winning that day. And that's important. But what is also important is that you have support, that you have support around the program that you can win with. And I don't know if it's going to be there. I've never seen Razorback fans unite in a way of just resistance the way that they did this morning. And I was just as stunned. Let's get into some of the comments, if we can, or maybe we have some questions on the Razor's Edge, because most of the comments are basically the same. Here's one from J.C. Huber. JC says, Trey, I'm not upset at Ryan. I can't blame him. It's kind of like, I was talking with Danny earlier, and it's kind of like, the 3-star recruit that commits to Arkansas, and you're like, people are mad at the kid. Like, he just wants to be a Razorback. Trey, I'm not upset at Ryan. I can't blame him, but we can blame this administration. I'm just so infuriated with our athletic department. Trey Shep also needs to be held accountable. This is, for sure, the darkest day in program history. It's not the darkest day. I get that sentiment. I get that outrage. We've had darker days. We've been a worse program, as crazy as that is to say. It's been a worse program. I mean, you go back to the Chad Morris days. I'm anxious to see this guy at the podium and see what he has to say, see how the next couple of days go. I mean, I say I'm anxious. And I don't know when a press conference would be held exactly, but I wouldn't expect anything soon because Hunter Yurachek is at the college football playoff deal. Let's see what people have to say. I'm in a daze, to be honest. I don't know if you can tell by my demeanor right now, but I am in a daze. Sparks County says, do you believe Hunter Yurachek knew there wasn't a single candidate on this earth that would piss the fan base off more than Silverfield? I mean, it does feel like there's a little bit of an out of touch deal there, based on the things that we were talking about, based on the names that were coming up. I mean, when we were talking about there's maybe a Power 4 coach out there that would be interested, the idea that there would be an Alex Golish who, is a flashier name, and a guy who's, his wife is from Arkansas. I'm not so sure how much that plays into his decision on what his career path is going to be. Auburn is obviously a better situation than Arkansas is. I don't know how this doesn't reflect on Arkansas, just kind of where Arkansas is in the pecking order, being a program that won 2 games this year. Arkansas has had, think about the 2-win seasons that Arkansas has had, the winless conference streaks that Arkansas has had. And we can go back for a long time. Arkansas is just not a good football program, and that is directly pointed at the administration here for getting Arkansas in this place. And I mentioned yesterday on the Walk and Talk, like when it was 2006, and I'm looking up at the stands, and I'm just looking, and I'm just thinking, wow. And then, all that stuff went down the way it did, and Arkansas fired right back and had that run. And, 2008, 9, 10, 11 with Bobby Petrino, and you're just thinking, this program is hot. It's electric. And then it just all fell off the cliff. And through this NIL landscape of stuff, Arkansas has just been behind. They haven't been innovative. And here's a quote from Jeff Calkins, whoever this is. Memphis got lucky today. There's no guarantee the next coach will do better than Silverfield, but it was going to be hell to try to sell another year to the fan base. I mean, that is interesting to me. I mean, I just read off some of the things, like on paper, like it's not just if you read all the comments are coming, this will get demonetized in minutes. Tyler Hall says, is there any chance that this hire doesn't happen similar to Stoops-Shiano? Yeah, it's happened. It's been signed. There's a contract. So how the hell did this happen, and when will we call for Hunter Yurachek to be fired? Here's one. Marcus TO5 says, overreaction by Hog fans. That's literally the first comment that I've read that's not a reaction like that. Hog Nation says he's on campus right now. Golish, those are like a protest. Did that ever happen at the Jones Center? Pigophile says, we have dropped to a new low. Our athletic director needs to be fired immediately. Yeah, I said 11:40. Sorry. PM. Too much. Suey says, why am I mean, it's not my job to go protest. I'm not going to go with a pitchfork at the gate and protest. I'm just going to give what I thought, what I think on things. I'm not blown away, but like I'm caught in a middle of a idea of like, this deal is done. Is this good for Arkansas to revolt like this? And I completely understand why. Like, I'm in my thoughts right now. Like, I'm probably not even prepared to do a show the way I feel right now. I'm just like, I just so badly want Arkansas to do well. And at this point, it doesn't even feel productive because I don't even know. I don't even know, guys. There's 7,000 people watching this right now, and I don't even know what to say. Elmer Fuddpucker says Silverfield would have been on the hot seat next year at Memphis. I mean, I think it probably would have helped perception here. I think it would have helped perception had he not dropped those last 3 games. And I'll say this, guys, like John Sumrall, Ryan Silverfield, Alex Golesh, Eric Morris. I've never followed the AAC more closely than I did this year. But there's going to be a guy out of that group that you say that you would rather have than Ryan Silverfield, who's going to have an awful career, who's going to fail. And probably most of them. And if you look across this conference, this SEC, every coach that has gotten their job, with the exception of Kalen DeBoer and Brent Venables, I believe, every coach that's gotten their job has gotten it because the coach ahead of them has been fired. So the odds are whoever is hired at Arkansas is probably going to be fired. Maybe it doesn't even matter. But what you do have to have is excitement out of the gate. You know, even Sam Pittman, who was an offensive line coach who had no head coaching experience, I didn't feel like it was this kind of reaction. I felt like there was maybe more of a groundswell. I mean, if you look at it, what is interesting, though, like from the reaction that you see, if you do look at it on paper, he's not different than anybody else that we're talking about here. It's just that the perception of, having the guy that you want, based on, what you see with press conferences or, watching games. Like I watched that South Florida game last night thinking that, this is where things are headed, even though it was a blowout win for South Florida. But I think the perception with Silverfield that is the past 2 coaches that have left Memphis to go on to head coaching jobs have not performed well. And the last one was Mike Norvell. A guy that Arkansas fans really coveted, actually, at one point. But he has not had a lot of success at Florida State. Since taking over there, they lost the Cotton Bowl. He went 0-1 to start off as the interim coach. They went 8-3, 6-6, 7-6, 10-3, 11-2, and 8-4. His last 3 years there, aside from the way that they just finished, have been pretty good. 10-3 and 11-2. I wonder how fans would react if it was after an 11-2 season with Silverfield. But this was also a guy, like, looking through when we're covering this search, there wasn't anybody that was like jumping on or excited about Silverfield. It was a lot of Golesh. And I really think that there were a lot of fans that kind of had to be talked into Golesh. Sumrall was a guy that out of the gate that I was kind of like, Sumrall would be the guy. But hell, this is what's crazy. If you look at the reaction to fans about Sumrall at Florida, at least before it was announced officially. I haven't seen what it was announced today. But before it was announced officially, I mean, they are like not excited about Sumrall at all. And why? Because the last guy they hired from Louisiana didn't work out. They compare, it's the same way with Eric Morris. Like, well, we don't want Eric Morris. We already had a Morris. Silverfield at Memphis. Well, the last 2 coaches at Memphis didn't pan out, so he's not going to pan out. I guess Golesh would have been the guy that, like, we can't really find that reasoning. He's got SEC experience. And let's go in a little bit more about Ryan Silverfield. Let's look into him a little bit more. From what I have heard, he does have a strong connection with the high school coaches in Arkansas, which is important. That's not unimportant. One of the things that we've been bitching about is Arkansas's connection with the high school athletes, their lack of recruiting inside the state of Arkansas. He does have NFL coaching experience. Here's where we're positive, right? 4 straight bowl wins. They beat in Arkansas, obviously. They beat Florida State. They beat West Virginia, and they beat Iowa State. I mean, on paper, it's not that awful. I think a lot of this stems from lack of confidence in Hunter Yurachek to make the right hire. I talked myself into getting so pissed off last night. Like when I started the walk and talk last night, I was not that mad. And when I was watching the game, I was just like, come on, let's just get this over with. Let's move along. Let's move along and get this over with. And there was a moment in the game where I was just like, a little bit of hope, like, okay, well, let's go. You know that feeling, like, let's go. And then it gets ripped away again, like you'd expect. And, and in the post game, I was mad in the post game, but holding it together and, asking the questions and wanted to say bye to Bobby Petrino, gave him a handshake and, and then afterwards, when I'm doing that walk and talk and I start talking about everything and just being thankful it's over, and I just talked myself into getting mad. And even when I was done, I was like, man, I'm almost embarrassed about how pissed I got in the walk and talk. And ever since then, like I come home and there's people over and I feel like my brow is just like sinking into my eyes because I'm just like, I can't get over how I felt. And I don't know. I don't blame people for their lack of confidence in Hunter Yurachek. I think, to be honest with you guys, I think he probably has just as good a chance to win at Arkansas as any of these other people. I mean, the more I look at it, really, he probably has just as good a chance to win as these other people. The thing with Arkansas is, are they going to give him the resources that he needs to do well? And that's probably the truth. It's probably the truth. I think if we could fast forward 4 years and we look at the performances of Sumrall, who I think Sumrall will have success. But if we look at the performance at Golish, at Auburn, I mean, Auburn thought that they hit it out of the park with Hugh Freeze. And that lasted 3 years, I guess. I think if we could look in the future, that we'd probably find that, Eric Morris, Sumrall, Golish, Silverfield, probably 3 of those 4 are not having a lot of success. The thing that's difficult if you're an athletic director is because you almost are guaranteed that your football program is not going to have success. Again, I've pointed to all these teams in the SEC, all the losses that they have had. In terms of all the firings that they have had, excuse me. Because everybody gets fired. But it just feels like you have to start off at a point where people are really excited. I can remember Gene Chizik at Auburn getting booed off the plane. People were booing him off the plane. And, of course, they ended up winning a national championship, and he was still fired by year 4, I think. And that was a guy that had won like 5 games at Iowa State, just had an awful record at Iowa State. I am not sure that there was a guy out there when we're talking about the Power 4 level coaches. I'm not sure that there was a guy out there who you look at and say, like, that's a grand slam. Maybe a Matt Campbell. There was some talk about him as a possibility. Another guy that, I think a lot of Razorback fans had kind of talked themselves into a little bit was Kane Womack. Kane Womack being from Arkansas, coaching at Alabama, obviously And there was a part of me, I was watching the Alabama game last night, also the Iron Bowl, and I see Kane Womack there, and I'm thinking maybe him. He might be a guy. But if I'm being honest with you guys, once you get past the initial reaction of it, there is not much about this guy's resume that's that much different than anybody else. I mean, Golish, what did he win? 8 games this year? And I'll be honest with you too about Golish. I think he's a little more fiery and gets people excited that way. No, they went 9-3 this year. He went 7-6, 7-6, 9-3 this year. That's not just outrageous though, but I think there was a sense for Arkansas fans that Auburn wants him, maybe Florida wants him. Maybe we can get him. That sense versus feeling like with Silverfield that maybe nobody else did. But I am told there are other schools that were very interested in Silverfield, including UCLA, including Oklahoma State. Is it the splash that you want today? It's not. I understand. It's almost like Arkansas fans, in a way, sometimes couldn't wait to be outraged over this, because we have all been backed into this corner. We are a wounded people. We are wounded. The season, the way it's gone, Sam Pittman should have been fired after that 2023 season, and just kind of the way the calendar was and everything, I think really hurt things with that. But they held on to Sam Pittman too long, and you end up in scenarios where you fall into this season where you do make a change. And by the way, Virginia Tech's going to open up, and Auburn's going to open up, and Florida's going to open up, and LSU's going to open up, and looks like Ole Miss. Hell, I don't even know. I've been following that Lane Kiffin stuff. I don't even know. Has that come to pass yet? Look at all the jobs that have come open. UCLA, Penn State. And this is the cycle that you're in. And I know that it was important to Arkansas to get this hire done before all the dominoes fell. But I think there's a sentiment amongst Hog fans that the dominoes could have fell, and they still might have ended up with Silverfield. Again, this is not the day to, in my opinion, to bash Ryan Silverfield. It's not the day to bash the recruit that just wants to come to Arkansas. He wants to be a Razorback, is excited about the opportunity, I'm sure. 100% get people's frustration with the administration and with Hunter Yurachek, and feeling like he's disconnected, and feeling like today was something that is totally unexpected. But I'll say this again, this guy probably has just as good a chance to win at Arkansas as the other guys. I mean, if you really want to sit down and get past the, shock and outrage that everyone felt right out of the gate, all of us, there's not anybody. If you really want to think about it like that, probably just as good a chance to win, because without the support that you need financially to win at Arkansas, you have to have you just have to have financial support. Arkansas fans feel like they catch the raw end on everything. They feel like everybody is against them, and I don't blame them for that. I feel like as many of those calls last night were justified. I feel like just as many of them were I don't know about just as many, but plenty of them were complete bullcrap. I mean, I felt like there was, and I have felt like there's kind of an agenda against Arkansas in some way. I don't know what that stems from, but I see it out there. I feel like, going back to 2020 when they released the schedule, and it's like, well, we're going to send Georgia your way, and we're going to send Florida your way also. You're going to have to go to Florida, the two best teams in the East at the time. Sorry about that, Arkansas. You understand. The things with the schedule, the way the schedule has shaped up, when you really break it down, Arkansas's, the number of times that they've had home games, or the number of times they've been able to start the season at home, with back-to-back home SEC games. compared to other teams, it almost feels blatant, the way that things have gone in that manner. It just feels like Arkansas has no respect from the SEC and always gets the short end of the stick. But you also feel like, the people running things like haven't been proactive. Like you feel behind in NIL. Like if you want to look at NIL, which is one of the most important changes in college football, and Arkansas came out with One Arkansas, which was just an utter failure, and then right after that comes out with Arkansas Edge, which is an equal failure, if not bigger failure. I mean, it ended up being a joke, and right now you talk to a lot of Arkansas fans, and they're like, how do I donate to NIL? I don't know. I don't know how you donate to NIL. FanStake? An outside app? I have no idea how you donate to NIL. But Arkansas, there is just the sense that Arkansas is not proactive, and Arkansas has always been a state that has to do more with less. And the sense is that they're not proactive, they're not aggressive, they don't push the envelope. And I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine last night, and you look at, and he said, we're cursed. And I want to know why. I want to know why they're cursed. What has Arkansas done? What has there's 12,000 people watching this right now. I'm just rambling. Did you guys have something better to do? What has Arkansas done? I look back at schools, like I'm looking at Missouri and looking back, putting the story together, looking, okay, Arkansas has lost 8 or 9 of these guys. Oh, wait, they have a vacated loss in 2016 for cheating. You look at Alabama, their record versus Arkansas, and you go down, they're like, oh, vacated loss, vacated loss, vacated loss, vacated loss. Look at Ole Miss against Arkansas, vacated loss, vacated loss, vacated loss. LSU versus Arkansas, vacated loss. Auburn, vacated loss, vacated loss, vacated loss for cheating. You look at Baylor, the scandals at Baylor. You look at Penn State, the scandal. At Penn State, Ohio State, the Tatgate stuff, which is all fine to do now, but completely illegal then. Got people fired over it. 2 years after that, national championship. They're going to get slammed by the NCAA. It doesn't matter. And you look at Arkansas and you look at their record against every other school imaginable. There's not a single vacated win. Not a single vacated win over any kind of cheating or any scandal or anything like that. And we have athletic directors talking about integrity, talking about doing things the right way. But Arkansas is the school that's cursed. Even Bobby Petrino was fired over integrity. And Arkansas is the school that gets punished. We are not cursed. We're just not proactive. We're not aggressive. We're not forward-thinking enough. We hurt ourselves, and the treatment that we get from the SEC, and I don't care what anybody says, but since Greg Sankey has been in that role, it has not been nice to Arkansas. Arkansas gets the utter shaft over and over again. I even believe that Arkansas, when they played LSU years ago during COVID and they didn't have enough players to play and they could have opted out, I think they were told to play the game. I think. Alleged. While other schools get to do whatever they want, and other schools get to do literally whatever they want. Arkansas just gets treated. The fact that Arkansas played LSU in that Friday game, the only game on Friday, for years, and Texas A&M came in the league, and they're just like, you know what? We're going to replace you with Texas A&M. And we just sat there and took it. Just sat there and took it. Because we're pushovers. That's the program. It's no wonder Arkansas fans have no confidence in this administration. I've never seen anything like this. And I've followed Hunter Yurichek's tweets and stuff because, he doesn't follow – he follows 59 people. But I followed his tweets, and it's been like this for a long time. You look at the comments. it's just brutal comments. I know that there are people also, boosters and, people that support this program that are working and pushing and donating more and trying to figure out ways to be creative and trying to figure out ways to support the program. But the things like the fact that this stadium hasn't been named, it has been Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium for 2 years, guys. And that's not the name of the stadium. The naming rights expired 2 years ago. And nobody has named the stadium. The fact that you have billionaires in this state that aren't willing to get behind the football program, and they do stuff like John Tyson does so much for this athletic department, so much for it. Basketball, golf, track. I mean, the Tysons are outrageously good. Would you love to see more in football? Yeah, I would. I hate to ask you for more because they have done so much. But, the fact that the Waltons are basically the richest family in the world, and I know some of them are Missouri people too, but, I don't know, man. I mean, there are people that give so much to the university and people that don't get enough credit. People that give hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars. I don't know. I do know this, and I'll say it again. I'm not mad at Ryan Silverfield by any stretch. In fact, I'll say it again. I think that there's probably as decent a chance that he does as good a job as anybody, and that some of the guys that we're clamoring for right now are going to end up failing. I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen guys that we have talked about as coaches that you want, like, Fuente, another Memphis coach. That was a guy that we talked about a lot as a possibility to Arkansas, a job that he said he wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, and then he's fired at Virginia Tech later. Jamie Chadwell. A couple years ago, how guys were falling over their feet for Jamie Chadwell. Nobody wants him right now. What's Jamie Chadwell's record? Jamie Chadwell, when he was doing what he did at Coastal Carolina, going 11-1, 11-2, 9-3, 13-1, and then last year he went 8-4, and last year he went 4-8. Nobody's hiring Jamie Chadwell. A few years ago, tons of people wanted him. I think Arkansas fans just feel they have no choice but to be outraged. They're just outraged. All right, let's see what some of the comments are. I mean, I know what they are. They've all been the same. I have never seen Arkansas so united. They're livid. I can't. These comments go forever. I just don't want to see. Here's the thing too. I don't want to see. I just want to win, man. I want this program to get back on track, and I'm not sure that the path that we're on right now, like people saying don't donate, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that that's the answer. I feel like we're past. I don't know. I'm so foggy right now. I don't even know what to think, if I'm being honest. I don't even know what to think. Has anything happened with Lane Kiffin? Put it in the comments. Is he gone? I can't imagine being Ole Miss right now. I can guarantee you with Ole Miss, they're not hiring a guy. It's going to be as good as the guy they just lost. Trey Biddy for head coach. I'm easily not qualified to be the head coach or the athletic director. Anyway. All right, I'm going to go read our questions off, see if we've got anything interesting. I know it's mostly reactions. What the F happened? How did this happen? Why him over Bobby, Traylor, or Womack? I mean, Traylor's a guy that I liked a lot too. I mean, you look at Traylor's won as many games. Traylor's won like 56 games or something in the last 5 years. I mean, he's one of the winningest coaches. Now it's gone down. I think that's probably what hurt him in a lot of ways. Traylor's record, I think, hurt, but I mean, his record this year hurt. I really thought it would go to Womack if it didn't go to Golish. I mean, based on what I was told, it would go to Womack if it didn't go to Golish. And that got all the way up to the point, from everything that I was told, that he was offered the opportunity to be offered. Let's see, where are we? There's so many comments. Was Golish really upset that there was a leak? Pretty much every school has leaks. I don't know. I don't know on that. But there was definitely, after all that stuff came out, that there was definitely a sense from people that things could change there. Where am I? People are asking why I'm not going to the protest. I'm doing this show. Have we all been lied to for the last 2 months? Any chance you can just bring Bobby back? The deal is done. Why does Jesus hate us? Jesus doesn't hate you, man. Some pig 836. This is just a tube with poop running out of it. Was Bobby Petrino the only P4 coach involved in this search? Sure seems that way. I think that there was maybe another, at least, that had interest. Yeah, I accidentally put 11:40 p.m. on the time start for this. Settle for a coach whose fans were already prepared to run him out of town. This highlights the incompetence of our athletic department as a whole, or possible apathy. Whose simulation are we in, and do they hate our program? Let's find a good comment that we can really go with. I mean, I understand the frustrations and stuff. I mean, to be honest, guys, like at this point, like the contract is signed. Okay. So any idea out there that you could protest or revolt and not have this done is not happening. Like once that contract's signed and everything, like you're not going back to Memphis. He's going to be the Arkansas coach. Like that's happening. So all this stuff about like protesting and stuff, I don't see how that's, I mean, I understand it, trust me, but I don't see how that leads to anything. Philip Hogg 247S says, this is a joke hire, Trey. No offense, but I've been a subscriber for 20 years and I'm debating whether to stay around. Not because you are Danny, but because of how this athletic department is so mismanaged. I've simply got better things to do with my time. If I put a poll out right now and said, what do you think of Hunter Yurachek? It would not be pretty. Tyler Tober says, Trey, how do we fail this miserably? We had so many other candidates, months of searching and keeping it quiet for a guy no one else wanted. Well, I don't think that is actually true. I do think that there, based on what I was told, there are other schools that really were actively after him, including UCLA and Oklahoma State. So I don't think that is actually true. What are the odds this isn't real? It is very much real, unless we are in a simulation. I don't think we're in a simulation. This hire proves money isn't there and our leadership doesn't care about winning football. Sad times as a Hog fan. I don't think the money is – I don't think that they have reached goals. I talked to 3 people on Arkansas's goals. And, it's kind of interesting how some people say $40 million and some people say, $40 million over 4 years. Some people say like $25 million over the first 3 years. But there's like an overarching goal. I'm actually a little confused on those goals. One person told me things aren't going very well at all. Another person told me that things are going great. And another person told me that feels like they're halfway there with some momentum, Here's Danny West. Here's a report from him. Anthony Kennedy Jr. tells me he just got off the phone with Silverfield. This is a 4-star defensive tackle in the state of Arkansas, who's about to board his jet. Anthony Kennedy Jr. said he's known for the past few weeks, but couldn't say anything about the news. He said he is now in the process of working things out, and I now believe he's a strong candidate to stay home and sign with the Hogs Wednesday. Now, what I have heard, and Danny has a lot more, talks also about Danny Beal, and some others. So what I have been told is that he does have a very strong relationship with high school coaches in the state of Arkansas, and that is something that has been lacking, obviously. I'm going to say this again, guys. Like, this is not the day to hate on Ryan Silverfield. He wanted to come here. He wants to be a Hog. He sees a great opportunity. And I like that. I like that he sees that. I understand the point, how pointed everybody is with, Hunter Yurachek and feeling like you have 3 months here to do this coaching search. Is it 3 months? September, October, November? I mean, 3 months. And I think people were expecting, a head start and some big splash hire. And you didn't get that today. That's not what has happened. You haven't gotten that. There's 17,000 people watching this. I guess as I should expect. I would like to thank our title sponsor here. I hadn't, this is just kind of an extra show, so I didn't do any of our stuff, but I do really appreciate the Crain team. 16 locations in Arkansas, home to the Crain commitment. Appreciate those fellas out there. Appreciate Sutherland's, of course, who sponsored the Walk and Talk this year. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. Walker Brothers, of course, for men's clothing. Ozarks Go for your internet service. Bet Saracen for all your betting needs, the number one sports betting app in Arkansas. Appreciate all of our sponsors for this. This is just kind of a different reaction show, so I didn't really set up any of our average. I'm not even monetizing this at all. This is just us discussing things. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say. So I understand Arkansas's frustration. I understand your frustration. I'm frustrated with everything. I just don't feel like the commitment to football has been there. I hope nothing more than for people and everyone to be wrong on this hire, and that this is somebody that's going to come in and transform Arkansas football. And hell, guys, I'm not sure it can get much worse than it's been the last 8 years or so. How long has it been? 18, 19, 17, I guess. Ever since the end of Brett Bielema's 2016 season, when Arkansas lost that huge lead against Missouri, and that really felt like it started this downward spiral against Missouri. But you lost that huge lead to a really bad Missouri team at the time, and then you lost that 24-point lead against Virginia Tech in the bowl game. That was the spiraling down start for Arkansas. And then you had the next year where they won, 4 games, 3 games or 4 games? They win 4. The next year they go 2-10. The next year they go 2-10. The next year they go, 3-7? They only played 10 games that year. 3-7. And then they had that year that's just like, they got lucky with all the seniors coming back with the COVID year. They win 9 games, including the bowl game over Penn State. And then the next year, you just had kind of a sputtering, and you just felt like things were going the wrong direction. And then the next year, they completely tanked. And you thought there would be change there then, and there wasn't. And there should have been. And the next year, you treat 6-6 in the regular season, and they ended up winning the bowl game to win 7. But you treat 6-6 in the regular season like it's this miraculous turnaround for the program. And then you enter the next year, and it's obvious that it wasn't a miraculous turnaround because the way things started off, and you end up firing Sam Pittman after you get humiliated at home against Notre Dame. And that has been Arkansas football. That's the number one program for most Arkansas fans, is that. And then fast forward to today, after 3 months of a coaching search, and Silverfield is a guy that just doesn't bring a lot of inspiration to Hog fans, and that's obvious. And part of that is because Arkansas fans are backed in a corner. They're wounded. They're like a wounded animal right now, and they're ready to fight and lash out. And a lot of it's pointed towards Hunter Yurachek. I'm just not so sure that a lot of it should be pointed towards Ryan Silverfield. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion. The guy wants the Arkansas job. And the odds are, to me, that he's probably got just as good a chance to succeed here as a lot of the other guys that we ended up talking about, Golish, Sumrall, although I do think Sumrall is going to be pretty good. But Golish, Sumrall, Eric Morris, Silverfield, Womack, probably just as good a chance as all those guys. And the thing that is not overwhelming really about Silverfield today is that he doesn't bring that initial burst, that initial just like swelling of support, and I'm not sure where that is right now. Are Auburn fans feeling that right now with Golish? Maybe they feel like they got to win today. I don't feel like Florida fans are feeling that right now. Would you have felt that way with Eric Morris? Even knowing that Oklahoma State wanted him, would you have felt like that was kind of a win? We'll end it with some positives. I mean, I mentioned the thing with Danny talking about, some of the in-state guys here. Is this even real? Words from your head, Hog. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Okay, so that was a message from Ryan Silverfield there. I think some of the comments here are not that bad. Ben Brandon is a good poster. Good for you, Ryan. Genuinely, the outrage isn't personal. It is to Hunter Yurachek. I hope we're all wrong. I think that's probably fair. I think that's a fair comment versus, the next reply is nobody gives an S. Tyler Davis says, I feel bad for this man. His boss is an idiot. Nobu says, we don't care. Stay in Memphis, you bum. Ryan, I hate this for you, but please just stay there and keep losing American championships. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of mix. I mean, this is probably the first thing I've seen that's not just like irate. The responses to Hunter Yurachek are just overwhelmingly bad. All right, positive note. We'll end on a positive note here. I'll reiterate, probably just as much opportunity to succeed at Arkansas as a lot of the other guys. It's just going to depend on okay, here's a positive one. Here's from Bray Cook. I've spent a lot of time with a lot of coaches, spent a lot of time around Ryan at Memphis. This is, Bray Cook. A lot of time around the Hogs. This is a great hire for Arkansas football. So there's one former Razorback who feels good about it. Anthony Switzer says, Ryan Silverfield to Arkansas is equal to Kurt Signetti to Indiana, but y'all fans wouldn't know dog poop if you stepped in it. That's a coach that you flip a culture and program with, and is a big-time guy without the name and hype yet. I will say this about the guy. He is not a self-promoter type of person from what I have been told by people. He is not the kind of guy that's going to rah-rah himself, and maybe not as flashy as like Alex Golesh has been, or as heated as we've seen with some of the stuff that he does. Certainly doesn't look in the mirror and see just himself like, Lane Kiffin does, not a selfish guy. So this is from Ralph Russo. I think all SEC teams did well with their American hires, especially Arkansas. Silverfield gets overlooked, but was 5-0 against Golesh. I think he was just 3-0 against Golesh and 5-0 against Golesh and Eric Morris. NFL experience, longest track record of success than some of the other guys in the mix there. Never had a losing season. And then this is from Dutch Dalton in response. He also ended the season 2-4. His resume at Memphis: 3-12 against teams above 500 on the road, 2-12 against teams above 500, 0 AAC title game appearances, 2-4 versus ranked team, 4-4 in AAC play. It does feel like there are some more national people that are a little bit more, kind of behind him. It almost feels like Arkansas fans don't want to hear any of that. Like they don't want to hear that there's anything positive to associate with this hire. He does have NFL experience, which really none of the other coaches can say. They beat Arkansas. I mean, I guess that's saying much. And when you do compare him, there are things about him that are better than, some of these other coaches that we have talked about. The thing with Summerall that I've always said that I liked is that he did it at two different places. He did it at Troy. He did it at Tulane. He won both places. People I always talk to behind the scenes just talk about what an up-and-comer he has been. He was a guy that we had on our coaching search hot board back in 2023 when I thought I was going to be able to put that out. But was just getting ready. But anyway, yeah. Okay. Been a weird morning. Not a morning that we expected. But Ryan Silverfield is the head coach at the University of Arkansas. Everyone's frustration is absolutely warranted. I mean, I feel that. Is Ryan Silverfield going to do a bad job at Arkansas? I don't think that any of this means that. I think there's probably reasons that you could look at and you could probably talk yourself into being encouraged by it. At the same time, when you compare it to the other candidates that Arkansas was seriously considering, mostly AAC candidates, Morris, Sumrall, Golesh. So, but I 100% understand the wounded animal mentality of Arkansas fans to look at the situation and feel like they don't have a lot of confidence in Yurachek to get this right. All right, that's the show, everybody. Appreciate you joining me today. Probably the most watched show that we've ever had, I guess. I guess you would expect that. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.